So for anybody who doesn't know, Big Red is my 2016 F-150, my off-roading truck. It's got a 5-liter V8, 6-speed auto transmission, pretty capable truck, pretty cool looking truck, but it's also high miles. So not only is it, 8, 9 years old now, but it has like 228,000 miles. I bought it used, and as you can see, on the interior here, the seats are very much worn out. So this seat has like basically no cushion left in it at all. It's got a cigarette burn in it. The passenger seat is maybe a little better, but not much. And the middle seat is probably the best of them all. Not surprisingly, it's used the least. But being that's a high mileage truck, I've got some newer seats for it. These are out of a 2021 F-150, and they're also used. You can see they need to be scrubbed. I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but I will. But these are out of a 2021. They've got about 45,000 miles on them, and I am 90% sure that they're going to bolt right in place of the 2016 seats. I am almost positive the driver's seat is going to just plug in because it's only 5 wires. It's a really simple seat. There's nothing power on this, just like an airbag, a seatbelt buckle, and a track position sensor. Now the passenger seat is a little more complicated because it also has in the cushion kind of like a airbag bladder where when somebody sits in it, it creates a little bit of air pressure, and there's a sensor underneath the seat that measures that and talks to the rest of the truck to determine if it should turn on the passenger airbags based on the size of the person. So the 2016 has that, the 2021 has that, but they're wired a little bit differently. So I think I'm going to have to probably swap the sensor between the trucks and maybe change where some of the wires are on the plug, hoping that the plugs both just plug into the wires on the truck. So let's start with the driver's seat, 'cause I think that's going to be the simplest. We'll get that out of the way, and then we'll dig into the passenger seat and see what it needs. So to get these seats out of here, it's actually pretty simple. We've got a couple bolts in the front. Got one right here. We got one right over here. You got to pull a little cover off to get to that bolt, but it pops off with a screwdriver. And then we got one here in the back, and we got one on the inside on the back. And the seat slides real easily, so you can get to the back ones. So they're not hard to get to at all. So there we go. We can see we'll have to pop another little cover off that one, pull this one out. Not a big deal. Then underneath here, there's just one plug that plugs in here. I think this will connect right into the 2021 seat, but we'll see. I hope so. And it is really dirty underneath this seat. So another problem when I bought this truck is it smelled very much like cigarettes and cologne. And the person I bought it from must have detailed it, but I'm thinking a lot of the truck probably was about this dirty before that. But anyhow, let's get the seat out. I can vacuum all this out, get it cleaned up, and we'll see if the new seat bolts right in. Well, I got the seat out of here, and as you can see, there's a lot of ash, like cigarette ash around some of these hard-to-get-to areas. I think somebody, I'm almost certain that they detailed this before I bought it, but spaces like this you just can't get into, and there's a lot of ash. So certainly an owner before me was a smoker. I'm going to get that all cleaned out. And even though I don't have the middle seat yet, I tried to get one. The same place I got the outer seats from had the middle seat, but when they shipped it, they put a band over top of this, like one of those thin plastic shipping bands, and it just really like crunched this in. And I didn't like how that looked. I wasn't going to pay premium dollar for really a damaged center seat. So I don't have that one yet, but I am going to pull this seat out when I pull the passenger seat out, so I can clean everything underneath here as well. There's probably ash underneath that too. Then I'll just put this one back in until I get a new center seat, which shouldn't take long. Now you probably saw that I had to kind of go like out and out further and out further and with a couple of these bolts. And that's, living in Michigan, we get some rust, and the bottom of this bolt actually sticks out like underneath the body of the vehicle. So there's a little bit of corrosion on it, but it worked itself off. I try not to just fight it and come all the way out in one shot. I probably could, but that could also either damage these threads or break the bolts or damage something else. So usually coming out a little bit, going back in, coming out further, going back in, helps to clean all the threads up without damaging anything. So let's get the rest of these seats out, and I'll get everything cleaned up in here. Then we'll take a look at the new seats and get everything bolted back in. So now that I have the original seat out of the truck that you can see has a lot of wear on it, cigarette burns. It doesn't look terribly dirty, but it's got 228,000 miles on it. Compared to the 2021 seat, which also is used, but allegedly has like 45,000 miles on it. You can see that this seat is in much better shape than this one. And I'll tell you, this seat has like no padding left in it. I think it's a big boy that had this truck before. So I'm sure that this seat's going to be a lot more comfortable, which is what I'm going after. It's cleaner, it's less worn, and I'll be able to shampoo this stuff out. Looks like when they pulled it out, they got the seat track kind of out of alignment. So I'm going to have to, just probably pull this. I'm sure these slides move independently, so I'll have to move that one back a little bit. And I got to compare the pins on the two connectors. Looks like the connectors are the same. This one's kind of hanging down, but that's fine. The bracket just came out of place when I pulled it out. But I'll compare the pins on there to make sure 100% that they're the same. And then we'll get this seat bolted in there. Then the passenger seat here, we're going to have to do some rewiring on this connector and switch over a seat position sensor and a occupancy classification sensor, but I don't think that's going to be a big deal. So we'll get to that shortly here. So when you pull seats out of a truck or car or anything, or really pull any interior part out, sometimes like an archaeological dig and you're not sure what you're going to find. So I'm not sure what that is. Looks like parts of a French fry, maybe a gum wrapper, some coins in here. What do we got? Yeah, well, to soak those in some vinegar or something. I'm not sure. How do we clean up coins? Does Coca-Cola work? Or something else? Ooh, what's that? Is that a coin? I don't know. I'll have to clean it up. So, yeah, and I gotta vacuum this out too. That's pretty gross. What else do we have in here? I don't know that there... Oh, what's this? Wrapper? Ooh, a Hostess wrapper? That's not surprising. Big boy probably liked his Hostess as much as his cigarettes. What else do we have here? That's kind of a mess. Just a bunch of dust. Gross. Alright. I don't think there's much in front here or the back. So, alright, but what we got here? Like, is that a quarter? Can't even tell. 50 cents, maybe a dime or penny. So we probably got like 60 cents, maybe 62 cents. I don't know. We'll get that cleaned up, vacuum all this out, and get some better seats in here. All right, so I just vacuumed this out, and you know, it's better. It's less bad, anyhow. Um, I don't know how much better, but it's got less cigarette ash in it. So let's get the center console bolted back in. It's just putting the same console back in. I vacuumed underneath it too. Um, I'll get that replaced eventually, and it'll be more or less bad at that point. Is that a thing? More or less bad? Let's get that console in, get the driver's seat back in, then we can work on rewiring the passenger seat, and we'll see if all the things work right. Well, look at that. The driver's seat is installed. And it looks pretty good. Again, I got to shampoo a couple spots, get it cleaned up. I can see how it got stains here, though, because when I dropped this in here, I grabbed a hold of it right here, and I'm guessing the guy that pulled it out of another truck grabbed a hold of it right here, maybe right here, and his thumb was dirtier than mine. Does it have some marks down here? Maybe his whole hand wasn't that dirty, but anyhow, I think that'll come right out, just a little bit of grease. And I did confirm underneath that the connector is the same. So this new seat connected right to the truck's factory wiring. I believe all the wiring is the same on this seat. So, that's good. We got to put this little trim cover back on. But one seat back in here. So I haven't sat in it yet. I got to give it a test drive here, see how it feels. Whoa! Oh, wow! That actually does feel really good. I am so used to this seat being just totally clapped out. So that feels like a 45,000 mile seat. I'm pretty happy with that. So, and these seats, used seats even aren't very cheap. I paid like $320 per seat for these replacements. So I'm glad that it feels like a new seat. But this was the easy one. The other one I got to do some wiring modifications on. Probably more so just switching pins between terminals on the connector. Then we get the passenger seat in here, and then just got to track down new center console seat. But yeah, so if anybody was wondering, 2021 seats, they bolt right into a 2016, and the driver's seat, at least for these like completely manual, like no power options at all seats, plugs right into the connector as well for the driver's seat. So pretty happy so far.
12 seconds later.
All right, well, things were going just a little too well for something to not go wrong here. And my plans have changed. So I was working on disconnecting the OCS sensor, the occupancy classification sensor, to swap the sensor from this other seat in. And I didn't realize that it is fluid filled, not just air filled. And now, obviously, it's leaking, so can't be trusted. I can't fix that and trust it. But that might be okay because this seat also doesn't have provisions in it to attach a seat track sensor, which I need for my truck. Have to transfer that also from this old seat. So what I really want is the cushions, like the seat back and the seat bottom, cushions, new fabric, all of that. So I'm thinking my best bet probably is to pull this seat apart. This seat I haven't touched yet. This can go back in the truck for now if it needs to. I think what I need to do is pull this seat apart, figure out how to transfer the entire backrest, and pull this seat cushion off, but keep the seat frame from this one and the occupancy classification sensor from this one. Basically just take the cushions and the seat covers, put them onto this seat frame, keep the electronics. So let's see what happens with that.
3:28 a.m.
All right, so things have escalated quickly here, and I have a seat frame now for a 2021 F-150, and my whole seat still for the 2016. I haven't actually changed anything on this one yet, but I'm debating. So, what I want is this seat cushion. This is the 2021 seat cushion. I pulled that off, and this is the seat backrest. I want these. I need these. That's what I'm here for. And here's the occupancy classification system that is off the 2021, and I damaged it. It's leaking. Whatever. That's here. It's fine. Don't need that. Because I've got one on here that is not leaking. So I got a decision to make. I can either keep this seat frame, which has all the wiring that I need, and it's got the sensor on it, and it's not pretty, but it's all here, and you don't look underneath the seat. So do I just transfer the cushion and backrest onto this seat frame? And maybe even this support guy off of this 2021 seat? If that's damaged on the 16, I think it's just kind of worn out. I don't know. Yeah, I think this does come off of here. Or do I keep this clean seat frame, but transfer all the wiring and the occupancy guy from this seat onto this clean seat frame? Kind of leaning towards using this seat frame and electronics and just transferring the seat cushions to it. So tell me in the comments what you think I should do. I'm going to do something though and get the seat back in the truck. Well, there's no going back now. I've got a seat frame out of the 2021 seat, and I've got the seat frame out of my truck, the 2016. And I've decided I'm going to keep this seat frame, although it is pretty gross. So I'm going to try and, clean this up. But the electronics on here I do need. Now I thought about also swapping this over because that's pretty loose. And on the new seat, it's tighter. But it looks like the reason that it's loose is because this pan here actually is torn. So I'm thinking, Big Boy maybe had a big friend and wore out this seat also, broke the pan. But this piece appears to be the same on this seat, and this one's not damaged, and it's shinier. I like shinier. Who doesn't like shinier? So I'm going to transfer this piece to this seat frame. And I've kind of got an assortment of pieces here. This is the cushion off of the 2021 seat. Here's the cushion off of the 16. This is the backrest off the 2021, so we'll use this. And then there's the backrest off of the 16. So, yeah, anyhow, I'm going to get the seat frame cleaned up, transfer this front pan, keep this. This is that occupancy deal we were talking about. And you can kind of see here, here's the fluid sac. So when somebody sits on here, it's forcing that fluid down like through this hose here to the sensor, and the sensor's reading that change in fluid pressure and telling the restraints module, hey, there's somebody sitting in the seat. So yeah, we want to keep that part and keep the rest of the electronics from this frame. So let's get this cleaned up, transfer that pan, and then I don't know, probably really fast for you, we're gonna have a whole seat together again. All right, so we've got a seat again. So this is the new seat cushions on the old seat frame. And I carried over some of the plastic parts from the new seat, but kept the buckle from the old seat because actually the buckle is different. The wiring, the electronics are different on the buckle. So I'm pretty happy with this result. I'm actually really happy with this result, although the journey was not what I was hoping for. I didn't really want to tear my new seats down to that. But I was, concerned about the electronics and making sure everything in the truck still works how it's supposed to work. And the way that I did this, I actually kept all of the electronics from the original seat because this is the frame from the original seat. I essentially just swapped the cushions onto it and replaced the pan that was worn out. And so I think this is actually a really good result. And it wasn't terribly difficult either. You just got to get in there and, figure some stuff out. As far as how to take the cushions off. And then in the bed of the truck here, I've got some old seat cushions, and that's fine. I don't need that seat. So let's put this back in the truck, and then I think we're done. All right, I got the passenger seat bolted back in here, plugged back in. It's looking sharp. I've got kind of a one seat is not like the others look going on right now. But it's not so bad, especially when it's down in console mode. It's not like super noticeable, but I will get a matching console to go with these seats. Just need to find one for a reasonable price that's in great condition. But yeah, I am really happy with this because the seats that were in here were just clapped out. They didn't look good. They didn't smell good. When I bought this truck, it smelled like cigarettes and cologne, and a lot of that was, in the seats. Plus, they were just worn out and really uncomfortable. So, this is a good look, and I think it's going to be much more comfortable to drive now. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned a couple things on this, and I'll see you next time.